Hey everybody, thank you for joining us for Devotionables, brief devotions for busy people. My name is Gabriel. This is our continuation in Ruth. We are in Ruth chapter 3. We're going to do a longer portion of scripture today. It's verses 6 through 18. It's the end of the chapter. Because of time, I'm not going to read them. We'll try to summarize for us under 4 thoughts that I have after having studied this a little bit and reading it. And they really match up with other themes that we're just seeing constantly running through this book of Ruth. The first one I want us to think about is that the righteous act in faith. The righteous act in faith. We see that with Naomi, with Ruth, with Boaz, and it's on full display here again in chapter 3. Ruth and Naomi are, they conjure up this plan in order to let Boaz, you're a redeemer. We need redemption. Marry me. This is something we got to make happen. And so Naomi tells Ruth that Boaz is going to be down at the threshing floor. They've had the harvest is coming. He's worked hard. So at the end of this night, he's enjoyed a nice meal. He's had some wine, and his heart is merry. He's relaxing. He's resting. He's asleep. All of a sudden, he's awakened by this lady at his feet. And we should not read this text in a way that would say this is a sinful act that has taken place. Rather, these are the righteous acting righteously in faith. There's nothing as scandalous that has happened. The author goes out of his way to tell us about the moral character of Ruth, the moral character of Boaz. They are both a worthy man and a worthy woman. In fact, Boaz is going to say that. Let's pick it up in verse 9. After being away, he said, "Who are you?" And she said, "I am Ruth, your servant. Spread your wings over your servant, for you are a redeemer." And he said, "May you be blessed by the Lord, my daughter. You have made this last kindness greater than the first, and that you have not gone after young men, whether poor or rich. And now, my daughter, do not fear, for I will do all that you ask. For all my fellow townsmen know that you are a worthy woman." Again, to that character of Ruth. Think about Proverbs 31. We started a couple weeks ago talking about that. "And now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet there is a redeemer nearer than I." And then he goes on to protect, right? Acting in faith. So he could have sent her away right then. But Dr. Howe pointed out to us, no, he protected her, not putting her out at night when she would have been vulnerable to an attack, and then also sending her away early to protect her reputation and sending her away with goods, with food that she and Naomi would need. So here, again, righteous, living by faith, acting out on their faith, and so that Boaz protects her and honors the law of the Lord. And so the righteous act in faith. James says this, hey, you say you have faith, but it's not at work. What kind of faith do you really have? And so maybe there's something you have been putting off. That you can feel, you can sense in your spirit, in your soul, that the Lord is calling you to do. And maybe it's just simple obedience to His Word, but you find yourself neglecting it. The righteous act in faith. We see that with Naomi. We see it with Ruth. We see it with Boaz. Second, the Lord is sovereign over all these things, right? You think about Proverbs 16:9. "In his heart a man plans his course, but the Lord determines his steps." This is all over Ruth, that when you and I act, we act as independent, free will actions beings, and yet do so under the umbrella of the sovereignty of God. It is the sovereignty of God and the human responsibility on full display here in this passage. So the righteous are acting in faith, and they do so under the umbrella of the sovereignty of God. God is ordaining these things. He is working through these things behind the scene. And we think about even in the book of Acts, when Peter is preaching, he gets on the Pharisees, this Jesus Christ whom you killed, it was ordained by God, right? And so this thing's working together, the actions of humans under the umbrella of the sovereignty of God. Third, I want us to think about the importance, the necessity of wise and righteous counsel. I believe that Ruth became a Christian, and we kind of see her display her faith earlier in the book when she's like, "Your people will be my people. Your God will be my God. I'm leaving my gods. I'm leaving my tribe, my family. I'm leaving all that behind to follow your God, follow you, Naomi." And so she's a young believer, and she needs counsel. She needs discipleship. And Naomi giving her wise counsel on what to do here. You just see that we don't do this walk following, acting in faith alone. We need wise counsel. And then finally, what a gospel picture this is. A gospel picture this is where Boaz, you are a redeemer. Spread out your wings and redeem me. There's only one place we can go to for redemption, and we cry out to the Lord, and all who come to me, he says, I will in no way cast out. Call out to the Lord for redemption, and he will save. See, unlike in this story, though, where Boaz, he says, hey, we're following the law. There's actually a redeemer who's nearer than I. Let's see if he'll step up to the plate. If he'll redeem you, all is well. If not, I will do it, right? We can only go to the Lord, and he will settle the matter. He has declared it finished in the cross for all who look to him in faith. So I hope that's encouragement to you today. God bless you.